Live. I'm in the Moose, the Medicine Show Radio Moose Mobile. We are pretty much in disarray, although we do seem to have connectivity. And you're beaming in from Houston, Texas, I do believe. Al.
Correct. Houston.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so thanks for joining us. I've got loads of questions, probably a whole lifetime of them. Because I know you spent a lifetime in living and loving and playing the music that I live and love for as well. So I want to talk all about that. But my first question is, and this is an important one, how do you pronounce your second name?
Staehely.
I thought it was. It was like like Haley, Staehley with a stutter.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I wasn't smart enough to change my name early on, and now it's too late.
Yeah, you've made your name as your name as well. So I'm going to talk about the family, the Staehely family, if you don't mind about that, because it seems to be a pretty musical family, Joe.
Well, yeah, at least
yeah.
My brother is quite the guitarist. You know, we together in spirit. We did an album for Epic as the Staehely brothers, and he played guitar after that with JoJo Gunn, and he did a tour with Robert Palmer, and did one tour with Bob Dylan and John Hine. He's your lead guitar player hero.
So is he a younger brother or older brother?
He's younger. He's 6 years younger.
How many years?
6.
So I've got a handle in this now because my brother, who was also involved in music, and there is a connection I want to explore between his band and some of his friends and some of your friends as well. He was 7 years older than me. So and what was your brother's name? Is it Chris? There's some confusion.
Well, his name is John, but his middle name is Christian. And Ed Cassidy in spirit always called him Johnny Chris for some reason.
All right. Okay.
But really, everybody that knows him calls him John.
All right. So, and Phil Lee, who's a mutual friend of ours, was telling us that your son's name was Chris. So the confusion's all mine, I think.
Well, yeah, my son's name is Christian, and that was kind of a nod to my brother because it was his middle name.
Yeah.
It was middle name because of a family friend or that.
Okay. So. I'm not going to explore this anymore because the middle names are Christian and Christian names. So I am.
At any rate, we're all heathens.
So your brother, now you're growing up in Houston, just quickly, were your parents musically inclined?
Well, first of all, we grew up in Austin. I'm originally from Austin.
Yeah.
In fact, my brother and I are like third or fourth generation Austinites. There aren't too many of those left in Austin with all the humans. But to answer your question about influence, our mother, who never quite did it professionally, but she was a singer in high school and with a big band, and she won some contest that she would have taken her to New York, but her father wouldn't let her go, and so there is some. She never went beyond that, but she did play a lot of good music for us when we were young. Everything from Ella Fitzgerald to all sorts of things.
So that's probably where the love of music came. Now, before we catch up with your move to the West Coast and to LA, did you get encouragement from your mother with regards to pursuing your music? Because you left when you were dead young.
Well, I wasn't that young. Well, see, they were. I was in bands starting in high school at Austin High.
Yeah.
But it was one thing I did, but also I played baseball for Austin High, and then and then I was in bands at the University of Texas, also in Austin. And then I went to law school at the University of Texas which was really an accident because, and a way of staying in Austin and staying out of Vietnam.
Yeah.
Because I was in a band with 2 law students and I was an undergraduate. I was pre-med, took all the requirements for med school, and it was time for me to go on, but I'd have to leave Austin. And we were in a band that was making good money every weekend and playing all the frat parties. And these 2 guys said, look, if you leave, you're the lead singer and bass player, you break up the band, go to law school with us just for a year until we, and so
you got a law degree by default to keep the band together.
Yeah. Well, once I finished the first year of law school, I realized that that's the killer year. If you finish that, you might go ahead and finish.
Yeah, you might as well stay and finish the law. Eh?
So really, I didn't go to California until after I graduated law school and took the bar exam to get that out of the way. So I was officially a lawyer when I moved to LA, but I didn't practice any law for about 10 years.
Okay. So, all right. So you've put a time scale on it where, so the war's still going in Vietnam. You're arriving in LA pretty much with the music industry in its infancy in LA.
No. It wasn't in its infancy by any means. I got there in 71.
71.
So, yeah. So there'd
so
already
the Summer of Love had all happened, and LA was established. The record labels were out there looking for the next big thing, and all that stuff going on.
But what happened was the drummer that played with John and I back in Austin had gone out to LA about 6 or 8 months before I did, and he joined up with Jay Ferguson and Mark Andes, who were leaving Spirit to form JoJo Guns. So that was my connection to Spirit when I got out there. Mark Andes introduced me to John Locke and Randy, and they were trying to decide whether or not they even wanted to go on as Spirit. And so I rehearsed with them for a few weeks, and they decided to invite me into the band. And so that's how that started.
So we'll talk about Spirit at some depth. I would like to remind everybody, and thanks to everybody who's joined us for this conversation, and thank you as well. I'm really interested in finding out a lot more, but I'm also interested in playing something from the new album as well, which is the reason for us getting together to promote what you're up to now. So that is of interest to me, the fact you've managed to maintain a career across 3, maybe 4 decades, as well as, 2 careers, basically, because you go on to become a music lawyer after your work with Spirit as well.
Yeah, well, that actually the Spirit thing was, like I said, really lucky and quick. I mean, within a year of leaving Texas, the Spirit Feedback album was out, and I was the lead singer, bass player, and I wrote 7 of the songs on the album, and we were headlining Carnegie Hall.
Nice.
And yeah. Dr. John was our opening act, believe it or not.
Amazing. I know. At that time, I mean, it's probably a bit earlier as well, but Led Zeppelin were coming in to America and opening up for Spirit.
That's true.
Just to put a scale on the whole thing. Randy California was probably the catalyst of that whole thing. He had left the band by the time you came, eh?
No, that's not exactly.
No?
No, he was, when I first started rehearsing with him, he was still in the band, but he of course, I didn't know him before, but the other guys during the making of Sardonicus, they told me he had a fall from a horse and hit his head, and that I think that in a combination of maybe drugs or something seemed to change his personality from what they said. I didn't know him before, but I know he'd come to rehearsal one day and be playing great and just like you'd expect him to, and then he'd come another day and not, be totally opposite. At any rate, he decided to leave before we ever did a gig together or recorded together. And John Locke and I went over and tried to talk him out of leaving, but he decided he wanted to. Now, kind of the irony about that is that after the Feedback album came out, he invited me over to his apartment one day, and he had done a little recording of him overdubbing some guitar parts to the Feedback album, and he actually wanted to rejoin the band, which I thought was a great idea. And ironically enough, it was his stepfather. Ed Cassidy didn't want him to at that point. He was enjoying working as we, but of course later on,
stepfather. This is where it gets really quite interesting, about complicated. His stepfather was the drummer in the band as well, wasn't he?
That's right. And
he was a good bit older than the rest of you. Would that be right?
That would definitely be right. I mean, I was probably 25 and he was 50.
Right. Okay.
But he was a great guy, and he was bald and wearing black before everybody else was. He came out of that beatnik jazz generation.
Yeah.
And you could tell it the way he played drums too, because
and that makes so much sense as well. What I loved about Spirit, and it was 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus that brought me into all of that, and hippie revolution and LSD, frankly. And I was listening to the album today, and man, the wallpaper was starting to move again, just like it did in the old days. What I loved about that album and the spirit of Spirit was, they were as Frank Zappa as Zappa, or you were as Frank Zappa as Zappa, but you were also as prog as Jethro Tull, and as West Coast and harmonic as Crosby and Nash. And it was all in there.
Right. And I think Jay and Mark, and maybe in particularly Jay, wanted to be in a real rock band. So that's that was
going to be my next question. Did that cause tensions within the band and being so across all the genres?
Well, I wasn't in the band then,
Yeah.
But I can tell you what I was told. I was told that, well, part of it too was Randy's being, at that point, his life was a little erratic, and I think they were supposed to do a tour, and at the last minute, he decided he didn't want to, and so right. So I think it was a combination of what was going on between him personally, but also Jay and maybe Mark too wanted to kind of rock out, and so that the drummer Curly Smith, who had been playing with us in the last band that John in Austin, was a great rock drummer, as you probably
I've heard it. Yeah.
And so he was perfect for what they were going for. And and then Mark's brother Matt, was a great slide guitar player and really wrote the only hit they ever had, which was the first single, Run, Run, Run.
Yeah.
But after that, Jay wanted to write all the songs. I think he probably should have worked with Matt more. They might have had more hits.
So we're talking about Jojo Gunn at this point, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did your brother come into that?
Well, really only weeks before we recorded Feedback. He was 19 years old, and he was playing in a band in Austin, a really cool band called Cracker Jack, with Uncle John Turner and Tommy Shannon, who had recently left Johnny Winter.
Wow.
And also Mike Kindred, the great keyboard player. He was sort of I think of him as the Austin Nicky Hopkins in a way, that he could play that blues rock piano so well. And later on he wrote Cold Shot that Stevie Ray did.
All right.
And then a good singer named Bruce Bolin. And so at any rate, John was playing in that band, and he came out to visit me in LA, and we were planning to do the album. And this sounds crazy, but we had all those songs were worked up 3-piece with keyboard, bass, and drums. And we actually even went out and played some gigs as Spirit 3-piece.
Nice.
And amazingly enough, it went over. Ed Cassidy loved it because he loved the old trio, I guess from his jazz trio days or something.
Right.
But John came out for a visit, and he came over to jam with us at the rehearsal hall, which was at Ed's house in Topanga Canyon. He had converted his big garage into a rehearsal room. And almost immediately they asked John to join the band. So he joined. But what's interesting to keep in mind when I think about it now is you listen to that Feedback album and hear how great John played. He joined the band, I think, 3 or 4 weeks before that,
Right.
So, and he just slotted right into the songs that were already there and already arranged,
Right.
So.
Cool. So just for context, for those that might not know Spirit's music, and I would of course highly recommend everybody to go back and have a listen to that as well. When Randy California was just a youngster, he went out looking for work in New York and fell into the company of Jimmy James, he was called in those days.
Right.
And became part of his band before Chaz Chandler came along and reinvented Jimmy James as Jimi Hendrix. So that's the context of this whole thing. And that's where Randy California, I would say, got a lot of his influence from. It made total sense to me when I found that out. And it was Jimi Hendrix who named Randy California because they had another Randy in the band. I love that fact.
Yeah.
Who became Randy Texas.
Yeah, you're right. Randy Wolf was his real name, but you're right.
So, it just, on that, he came back to California. He was invited to go to London with Jimmy. So we've got a story of Greenwich Village, Camden in London, and LA, Topanga Canyon, all connecting through music.
With the injection of Texas.
without outside Texas, which is going to come into the story of modern music quite strongly over the next few years, and hopefully we can bring this down to half an hour or so. We can get the story over as well. You're at the heart of this, Al.
But the Texas,
the Texas, the LA thing. You're also mixing with British artists coming in into the LA thing, and Topanga Canyon will be getting full of interesting musicians and
there, there's a history of a lot of Texans going to California. Well, actually, Don Henley was a friend of ours because he played in a band that used to come down to Austin and play a lot. Yeah. So when I moved to LA, I knew about 5 people, and one of them was the summer of '71 that I went out there.
Yeah. So
he was still playing with Linda's band and playing with his Shallow band, but they were in the midst of putting Eagles together. And so went up to his house, and there was a guy up there at his house named Jackson Brown hanging out.
Exactly.
Of course, at that time, I didn't know he was. Nobody did yet.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
At any rate, I remember Don calling and saying, well, I think we got a name for the band. I said, what is it? And he said, Eagles. And I said, I think that sounds all right. And he said, well, I don't know. I'm not sure if I like it. Seems to have worked out okay.
Seems to work fine, yeah. Excellent stuff. It must have been...
At any rate.
Are
we frozen?
No, we seem to be all right. I can see you. You can still hear me.
Frozen to me.
Does it? Well, you froze a minute ago, but I think we're okay. I can check on my other phone. I think we're fine. So oh no, we lost you. So we lost Al. So what we'll do is we'll take this opportunity to play a bit of Al's music. We're going to go and bring it up to date with something good is going to happen. And I'll see if we can get something happening with the video. Are you back out?
Yeah.
Okay, we're playing you can hear it. We're playing the single from the album. So let's play that through and I'll come back to you once I've checked a few things out. Thanks for being there. Thanks for listening, guys. This is Al Staehely, and we are in the Moose on IMTV.
My heart is like that wheel of fortune. Step right up, I'll take all bets. Well, I bet I'll find the girl who loves me. And we can't stand to be apart. We're gonna fly away together, wing to wing and heart to heart.
So we're listening to the music of Al Staehely. We have got the album here, which is fabulous. I'm loving getting to know it. And we just lost you a minute there, Al. Did you hear that?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. Somewhere in West Texas. Is that where you are just now? So we've lost him again, guys. So trying to talk to... he's back.
Yeah, you know what's happening is because we're talking on our phones every time someone calls me.
Oh, right. And you'll be... and being a music lawyer, you'll be a very busy man as well. So we'll try and cut to the chase. We're playing the album. I'm playing that on MKB Independent Radio as well. It'll be the featured album next week. It's getting some traction in Europe. It's already got traction across America, and we're going to help out as much as possible. I'm loving the album, Al.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. We did it out in Marfa, Texas.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have a place out near Marfa in the high desert. It's close to Big Bend National Park in a little town called Marathon. And we were out there for a month, and I was thinking, I got all these songs that I haven't recorded yet, and I keep saying I'm going to, and I know two good players, Fran Christina, you remember from the Fabulous Thunderbirds, he was the drummer. He lives in Marfa. And Scrappy Judd Newcomb, who played with Ian McLaughlin's Bump Band and so many other bands around Austin and recordings. And they both live in Marfa now. And so I called them up, and it turned out Chris Marish, who played with Eric Johnson for many years and has played with bass with so many others, was coming to town. And I said, okay, well, let's see if Chris wants to play too. Actually, I was thinking I was going in to just do some demos. I wasn't even planning an album. Nice. And we had one rehearsal, went through 6 songs and recorded the basic tracks to 6 songs in one day. And probably because we were just considering them demos. And so it was had a loose, not nice feel to it, and not getting...
Yeah, it sounds like you were having fun. And also, by that time, you've got half an album and no pressure on it.
That's right. Well, in fact, the musicians talked me into, they said, man, these are good songs. Why don't you come back with 5 or 6 more and you'll have an album? I wasn't even thinking about it being an album.
Yeah.
So I went back 6 weeks later and we did some more.
But I mean, you were playing live though most of the up to that point anyway though, eh? So it was a kind of organic process. It must have been to the point where these songs had to come out more than you forced them to come out.
Yeah, the songs had kind of been tested, but not with these musicians. And my brother, who oftentimes plays with me live, when he heard what we did out there, he said, wow, he said, these guys brought something really fresh to your songs. He said, Scrappy's my new favorite guitar player. He said,
Scrappy's my new favorite name. I want to rechristen myself. I want to meet Scrappy.
Well, maybe we can come over there and play for you guys. I would love it. He'd love it.
I would love that too. I'd love to get back to Texas as well. I was party to one of your gigs in Austin. I don't know if you remember. You were playing in a record shop for South by Southwest.
At Antone's Records, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, with our mutual friend Phil Lee,
that's right,
who we'll talk about as well at some point. So quickly back to, for those that have maybe just joined us, talking to Al Staehely, one of the members of the seminal rock band Spirit back in the 70s, but now, and this is where we'll probably get to talk about Phil Lee and Texas a bit more, you became a music lawyer. Now, while you were also a musician in LA, was that a matter of necessity? Because there was so much happening at the time that you needed to cast a critical eye over a lot of stuff for a lot of friends.
What in terms of when I started using the law degree? You mean?
Yeah.
Well, here's the way it happened. I had no intention of moving back to Texas,
Yeah.
but in 1978, maybe into 79 a little bit, I finally got a solo deal. I'd been trying to get a solo deal with a brand new label. I started the album. I had Steve Cropper on guitar, Snuffy Walden on guitar, Gary Malabar on drums.
Nice.
I had Pete Sears on bass and keyboards. Al Garth from August Messina playing sax and violin, and Marty Ballin my friend Marty Ballin even did some background vocals for me.
Yeah.
I got halfway into the album and the record company went out of business. And so I came back to Austin to visit my parents, just kind of licking my wounds, and I ran into this guy, Gary Olazabal, who I knew from LA, who was Stevie Wonder's engineer. And he was in Austin visiting. He had a girlfriend there. And he told me that Irving Azoff was getting ready to produce a movie in Houston called Urban Cowboy. And that Becky Shargo was the music supervisor. And I said, I know her she used to be at Epic. And he said, well, call her up. So anyway, I called her. She said, yeah, I'll be in Houston next week. Why don't you come down to Houston? Bring me some songs and let's see. So I knew it was going to be a big movie because it was like Saturday Night Fever with a cowboy hat. And so besides my own songs, I went around Austin and to represent some other people's songs. And when I went to Houston, I stayed with my buddy who had talked me into going to law school, who had been in my band in college I mentioned earlier. He was by then a criminal lawyer. So I stayed with him. They got interested in some songs. Ultimately, they did Rusty Weir's song that I was presenting to him called Don't It Make You Want to Dance? And Bonnie Raitt did it, and it was in the movie on the soundtrack album. But while staying with my friend Mike, he said, did you ever practice law? And I said, no, I still pay my dues. I'm still licensed. And so he said, well, let me take you down to the courthouse, get you some criminal cases for guys that can't afford lawyers to get paid by the county.
Yeah.
So next thing I knew, I was taking criminal cases as sort of like a public defender kind of guy. And then thinking this was just kind of a lark. And then I got a girlfriend, and then one thing and another. I was in Houston for a year before I admitted that I was living there and went back to LA and got my stuff, So
yeah, and before you admitted you were a lawyer as well.
And well, there's plenty more to talk about. I don't know how much time you got. So.
No, that's an interesting in context. We'll maybe touch on it at some point. Let's get back to playing some music though, but maybe at some point touch on the conversion from criminal lawyer to musician lawyer as well. So I've got the album here. Which track? Let's pull a track out. Which one would you like me to play?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. How about Emily? Play Emily.
Okay. Have you got a little story about the song?
Yeah, actually, you know what? This is one where the story is really in the song. Some songs, start from an idea. This is really there really was an Emily, and this is what happened. So.
Okay, let's see if it will play for us. Oh, it will. Okay, thanks for being with us, Staehely, and everyone that's viewing. We'll get back to talking about the West Texas music scene. Listening to a bit from Somewhere in West Texas, the new album from Staehely.
So much to me. You feel an empty place.
Magic, magic, magic. We're listening to Al Staehely, and I'm just going to... We'll come back to that, though. I do love it. I do love it. I do love a shuffle tune. And we heard Emily from the album. Al, are you still with us there in the background?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. As I was saying, it's beautifully produced and lovely album. Nice range of different styles of music, as you would expect from a Texas album, has to be said.
Yeah, it's, I always, it may have been a setback. I used to always kind of take pride in not having every song I write sound like the one before, but sometimes you have to be careful about doing that because, it seems like people like to have you hear the same thing from an artist over and over. But at any rate, I'm glad you like it.
I do. I'm enjoying it immensely. So we'll rejoin the story. You're back in Houston. Now, as a musician, Houston must have been opening up for songwriters in itself at that time. Was the old quarter on the go and all that stuff back in the day?
Actually, in the 70s, even before I got to Houston, a lot happened in Houston as far as songwriting. Lyle Lovett came out here, and Townes Van Zandt and Lucinda Williams was in Houston for quite a while. And there's
Rodney Crowell.
Yeah, Rodney Crowell is from Houston.
Yeah.
And although I encountered him out in LA in the 70s because I did some demos up at the Enactron mobile truck that was parked. This was when Emmylou Harris was married to Brian Ahern, and they live in Coldwater Canyon. And I went up there, and Rodney Crowell was living in a trailer on their property there. He was, I don't think he had a record deal yet, but he was sort of and Mickey Raphael from, harmonica player from Willie's band.
Oh yeah, of course.
Was renting a room from
nice
Emmy and Brian, so he'd have something in L.A. when he wasn't on the road. And in fact, he and I drove back to Texas together for Christmas one day, and I started writing this Christmas song about going back to Texas. And in fact, you can hear it on Spotify. And finally, years later, I got around to just recording and putting it out myself. And I called Mickey and I said, since you were there when I started writing this song, how about putting the harmonica on there? So if you go to anybody who's interested in hearing a Christmas song in April, go to Spotify. It's called Heart of Texas, the Texas.
Excellent.
And that's Mickey on harmonica.
Well, there's one or two collaborations before we get back into what you were doing in Texas. There's not many people in the world that have recorded and written songs for Keith Moon.
No, not too many. But he only did one album.
I had to listen to that the other day, and you know what? He was on to something. I think he was definitely on something, but no, he was on to something. I think.
I can tell you that. You want to hear the story?
I do.
Well, actually, I was at a JoJo Gunn session. And their engineer John Stronach happened to mention he was getting ready to start a Keith Moon album the next week, and I said, "Really, Keith Moon doing a solo album?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Who's producing?" And he said, "Mal Evans." And I said, "Mal Evans, the Beatles roadie, roadie."
Oh man,
the big guy with blonde hair and horn-rimmed glasses you'd see in the movies. And I said, I might have a song for him. He said, "Well, come down to the record plant on Wednesday, and I'll introduce you to Mal." So I go down there. And I take two songs. I play one. He said, "Nah." I played one called "Crazy Like a Fox."
Yeah.
And this was a Wednesday, and he said, "Yeah, I could hear Keith doing that. We'll cut it on Friday." I thought, okay, this is the way song plugging should always be, you know.
Yes, yeah.
And I said, well, do you have all the musicians for the session? He said, no. And I said, well, of course I know the song, but also my brother plays in JoJo Gunn. He knows the song. He's played it with me. And he said, JoJo Gunn, why don't we get all of them to play on it?
That's fabulous.
I call him up and I say, hey guys, you want to play in Keith's session on Friday? Yes, please. Yes, we do.
That's a conversation right there.
So,
beautiful.
So we get down there and there were two sets of drums. So one for Keith, one for Curly, and there were two other musicians there that were a surprise to us. Sitting next to me, I was playing acoustic 6-string, was Spencer Davis on acoustic 12-string, and
Spencer Davis
out in the big room with my brother on electric guitar, but Jesse Ed Davis also on electric guitar. Yeah. But when you hear the recording of Crazy Like a Fox, there's a solo, and that's my brother doing the solo, not Jesse Ed Davis.
All right.
And so then Keith, having just heard the song the day before, I'd written the lyric out and put it on a music stand, and I got out there with him and put on headphones, and he had on headphones and had a bottle of Cavassier in his left hand. And
oh, you'd hope so, wouldn't you?
And it was where to come in, you know, and you know, of course, what he's doing wasn't so much singing as it was just being Keith Moon all over the record, which what you wanted. I was standing back. He's crazy like a fox, and that fox got eyes on. And so, anyway, and then they started calling me back for other sessions. I ended up playing on about half the album. Nice. And Ringo came down one day, and then Bobby Keys. That's where I got to know Bobby Keys. And anyway, it was. It ended up being the first song on the record and a single. So
nice,
flattering. Wasn't a hit, but
amazing life. The big hero of my brothers as well. I wanted to see there's a connection in the Spirit days between my brother was in a band called Vanity Fair. They had one or two hits in the early 70s. They actually had a hit with Hitching a Ride and a Dance Craze in California at that time as
well. What was the band name again?
Vanity Fair.
Oh, Vanity Fair. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's sustained a career for 40 years, drummer. They were a great harmony band as well. Now, the connection with Spirit was with the keyboard player in Spirit who...
John Locke?
Did he play with Nazareth for a while?
Yes, after Spirit, he did go play with Nazareth for a while.
Well, Nazareth were all from our town, and my brother... Here's a story. Do you want to hear this story?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Right, well, my brother was in a band called the Blue Falcons, and Nazareth at that time were called the Shadettes, and they held the residency at the Kinnamore Ballroom in Dunfermline. Between the two of them, when the other Shadettes were out touring, the Blue Falcons held that gig down, and there was people like Long John Baldry and Elton John played through, and they would be coming through, so they'd be the backing band for anybody who was coming through, either band. Now, there's two parts to the story. The Nazareth were the Shadettes went on to be Nazareth. They got discovered and got a record deal, but everybody apart from Nazareth at that time felt they had to go to London. It would be the same as yourself with LA, I would have thought. To be recognised and to get the gig, they would have to go to London. So Nazareth or the Shadettes wanted my brother to join their band because they figured he was the best drummer in the area, and they wanted to go for it. And Mark decided that big decision. Decided, no, I'm going to London. Sorry guys, I I can't join you. Now, that was what my brother said about the story. But talking to Manny from Nazareth, who, he had said, well, you know, we did want him in the band. Says, but the problem was we couldn't afford another band suit, and he didn't fit the drummer's band suit. so it could have been oh so different from Brother Mark if he was a bigger in stature. So that's Mark's story. So I've read with a lot of interest that Nazareth were because what had happened then, Mark got to London, got the gig with Vanity Fair. His wife came down, and they got a flat in London, so they became the base for all the Scottish bands to start something off in London. So yeah, wow. So you know and this is where I came into the story about 16 years old. All you know, and the Marquee and all that. It was like Greenwich Village and his flat.
What about the Average White Band? Were they part of it?
Well, you know, he knew those guys, and they were from Dundee, which is it's a soul town, still is actually. Whereas Mark and I grew up in Fife, so there was some interaction, but not a lot. You know, they would play in Dundee, but I can't remember who the Average White Band's the name of their band when they were at home. But yeah, they all knew each other. Obviously, it's a village at this level, isn't it?
And my brother and I heard them play when they first came over at the Troubadour. In fact, went up and hung out with them a little bit at the hotel at the Continental Hot House, and they introduced us to Glenlivet.
Yeah, that's a particularly nice dram, by the way. It's a particularly and we should try and this time next year. Let's put a time on this. It's actually next week. It's the Speyside Spirit of Whiskey Festival.
All right.
I think I might just stick around the Highlands until that happens. Go and catch a bit of that. So maybe this time next year we can get a Staehely tour to come in and sample some whiskies as well as some music.
I like that idea. Yeah,
wouldn't that be nice? So I'm talking to Staehely. You are in Houston, aren't you, Al?
I'm in Houston now.
Yeah, and we're broadcasting on IMTV across the entire network, talking about the music. Which has inspired your life and inspired mine as well. Many of the bands that you've worked with were into, and we'll play something else from the album as well before we're finished, but we're into you moving back to Austin and Houston. So you would have been in Austin when the Armadillo was on the go.
Well, you know what's funny is, like I said, I left Austin in '71 because really at that time, well, first of all, I'd lived there all my life, and no matter where you grow up, at some point you're ready to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So but the business, there wasn't much of the music business there, and so I was either going to go to LA or New York, and I went to LA first, and then things happened. But '71 was when things started happening in Austin, because Willie moved to town, the Armadillo opened, and then all these guys that when I left town, were playing in rock bands, Rusty Weir and Gary Nunn and stuff. Yeah. I come back a year or so later for Christmas, and they're all wearing cowboy hats, saying, "Hey, partner, how you doing?"
all the rednecks are smoking weed, and all the musicians are wearing cowboy hats.
Yeah. They that's when they were kind of creating the progressive country thing. But it was funny, they all started having three names or a middle name. You know, like it was Gary Nunn when I left. Yeah, he was wearing Beatle boots, and when I came back, he was Gary P. Nunn. And,
so the World Heritage Armadillo Center, is that the right?
Yeah, Armadillo World Headquarters, it was called.
World Headquarters, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
that,
so I went, I went there quite a few times, but really only when I was living in LA, but
yeah.
when I come back to Texas for a little while. And,
I mean, it was a home for the likes of Frank Zappa as well as Willie Nelson, wasn't it?
oh, it
That
was
place.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I saw Captain Beefheart
Wow.
there.
Wow.
And actually, I played there with, I did a tour playing bass with Chris Hillman. Chris had a solo album out called Slipping Away and some in the late 70s, and he didn't want to play bass. And so me and Al Garth and Merle Brigante from Logs and Messina's
Nice.
band, and a guy named John Brennan on guitar. And so, but anyway, yeah, no, that's
So,
what.
so you come. So you're in LA at that time when this is all happening. When you move back to Texas, you take a real job as an attorney that you were already by this time. You're qualified to do it. Tell us when what the motivation was to get into being a music lawyer. And this is where we met through Phil Lee, of course, who you represent. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I tell you what, criminal law is kind of seductive because there's always something interesting going on every day.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of paperwork unless you're an appellate lawyer. But I knew I wanted long term to develop an entertainment practice, but also I wasn't just doing law when I came back. In fact, for about until my son was born in 1985,
right,
I was doing both. In fact, I did 2 tours of Europe with John Cipollina and Nick Gravenitis. And we did an album in Germany called Monkey Medicine, and we played Rock Palast, and I did an East Coast tour with them, and then I had a solo album out on Polydor in Europe. So I was doing both things, and then as I started in that solo album, over there it was called Staehely's Comet. It was later released over here as Al Staehely and 10,000 Hours on Steady Boy Records on Freddie's label. And that was me and my brother and Glenn Fukunaga on bass and Mark Singer on drums. And then, but then as a follow-up to that, I started an album, or I did an album here in a ranch outside of Houston with a mobile truck, and Andy Johns engineered and produced it, and that my brother played a few tracks, and also Pat Thrall played guitar, and Donnie Wynn on drums, who was Robert Palmer's drummer.
Nice.
And about the time we finished that, we thought we had a deal with CBS, and it didn't happen. And at that time, it was 1985, my son was born, and I decided I better concentrate on this law thing. I was now a father and all that. So actually, I didn't perform for almost, other than just sitting in with friends, for about 20 years till my son went off to college. So,
wow.
So yeah, so, and I'm going to, the stuff that I did with Andy, I'm probably going to release in the next year or so too. It's pretty interesting stuff. But anyway, so over that time, I started developing an entertainment practice, and I guess my first significant client was Stevie Ray Vaughan. I represented him on his first record deal, which was, well, really his only record deal. He always stayed with Columbia.
That's gonna get you noticed on your CV for other people as well, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. You look at his first album, you'll see my name under special thanks down there somewhere.
Wow, isn't that great? Yeah. So, without getting too far,
but you wanted to. That's how I met Phil Lee. You're right. he started out as a client, has ended up a friend, and I rarely do other people's songs, but I loved his song "Night in the
I know,
Box" so much. I
and
started doing it live,
it's
and
on the
it's on
album.
this record. It's on
I know.
this album, and
And
why don't we
what
play it?
what a delight to find it there as well. So let's play it. We are talking to Al Staehely. The album is somewhere in West Texas. Our mutual friend Phil Lee might actually be somewhere in West Texas at the moment. I don't know where he is. I know you've been playing with him this weekend under sad circumstances as well, but I
Yes,
think you did the trick and really lifted Phil's spirits, and I'm sure everybody else around about Peter Barber.
his good friend and uh, owner of a small label that had put some of Phil's albums out,
Yeah.
passed away, and there was a memorial for him in Austin this last weekend. And so Phil and my brother, did a few songs at that memorial, and it was great to see Phil.
My heart's bursting just to think of that, because I had a beautiful night out with Phil and with Peter at that restaurant that you were all there when I was in Austin the last time. Very, very fond memories of a lovely man. Very, very supportive human being all round as well. So I know that would be very much appreciated by all involved, because they're all music fans. I mean, Texas.
Well, you know what too is that the whole Barber family. He's got two brothers. Peter played on the same little league team, as baseball team, as my brother.
Wow.
And his two older brothers played on the same little league baseball team that I was on when I was a kid. So our
That's
families
unreal.
knew each other, and it's a very sad thing. But Phil is coming over to play, I understand, and
he is.
You guys
we shall be announcing the dates in the next few. I'm just waiting for one to land and firm itself up, and but his dates will be coming through on the wire before too long, and I hope to have Phil in the studio to talk about that as well. So please do stay tuned for all of that. I know for a fact, and it can be announced, that he has the Saturday night headline slot at Corrie Folk and Blues Festival on the Isle of Arran, which will be a trip and a half. I'm so looking forward to that. And my good friend Tommy Womack and his good friend, my now good friend Ben Reel from Ireland, they'll be joining us on some dates, that date particularly, and they are all coming to, and you can see it on your screen, Belladrum Festival, which is in its 20th year this year. I was in with the Bricks with that, and we've had our own stage there since it started 20 years ago, but we create an area which we call Moose Hollow for our style of music also. That's what we should do. Well, one or the other. It'll be either or. We could do both. It's either the Whiskey Festival or the Belgium Festival next year.
Well, maybe we don't have to choose. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, there's a whiskey bar at Belgium anyway, so we can have a dram together. So thanks for joining me, man. I realise you've got a busy schedule, and
no, I'm enjoying it. I'm happy to do it. Thank you for having me.
No, it's been a delight, and thanks everybody for spending the last hour or so with me and Al Staehely, beaming in from Houston. The new album is somewhere in West Texas. It's on all platforms that you could possibly get onto, so congratulations with all of that. The two videos, which I'd hoped to play, but due to technical issues,
they're on YouTube. They can find them.
They are on
if
YouTube. And what we'll do is, as soon as I can access those, see if we can get the MP4s over to me, we can feature them for 2 or 3
Actually,
days.
I see you have my website, alstaehely.com up there. If they go to alstaehely.com,
you've got
they'll see the link to the videos right there for Something Good Is Gonna Happen and Mercy of the Moon.
And guys, while you're here and listening, and thanks for joining us, if you go to, and I can put this up, if you go to YouTube, it's youtube.com/Rob Ellen, simple as that. There it is. I'm going to give you you can subscribe to that channel. If you do subscribe to that channel, hit the red button, the red bell. No, it's up in that corner. Hit the red bell in the corner and you'll be notified whenever IMTV goes live. And I will be featuring Al's videos for a few weeks as well. And it'll be our featured album on next Monday's MKB Independent Radio Show, Monday Night Tank of Gas Medicine Show. Will be featuring your album this week, Alan. Thanks very much for sending all the music our way. All your life you've been sending the great music. It's nice to catch up with all of that as well. So we'll play out with Phil Lee. How did he get to be the star of this show?
Well, because he deserves to be the star of every show. He writes great songs. I tell you,
he sure does.
Every time I do this song on stage, and I do it every time I play a gig, I always tell people to check out Phil Lee. He wrote this song. He's got a lot of other great ones. So I'm a big fan of Phil. So
and I've been for a long time. We've done many a Stravig together, the two of us. So I haven't seen him for 10 years. Well, he hasn't been over here. I've seen him in America. He hasn't been over here for 10 years. So that's all coming up, and we're looking forward to that in July. Phil Lee at some of the better Americana spots. I know he's playing Sheppey Blues and Folk Club. He's also going to be at the Maze in Nottingham. He's going to be at What's Cooking in London, which is the best Americana club in London. He's got dates around Newcastle, and he's going to be at Leith Folk Festival, Folk Club, and there's one or two, as well as these two festivals I've already mentioned, there's one or two really nice intimate house concerts. So please ping me a line if you're wanting more information on all those. I can send you information, particularly the house concerts. You probably need an invite to get into those. So we do what we can for independent music here on the Medicine Show, and particularly for house concerts, Al. It's something that I'm passionate about, encouraging people to have concerts in their own homes. Did you freeze on me?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Did you ask me a question? I was listening to all your things. I missed the...
So anyway, we're going to play out with we'll play out with a couple, Wide Eyed and Innocent, as well as this is Night in the Box. Thank you very much for joining me, Al. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, hope so.
Got a little place out on Highway 10. You gotta cut your head when you walk in. You walk 3 steps and lay down flat. Girl, the little box is where it's at. Everybody knows this trailer rocks. Don't you go spend the night in the box.
Staehely, my special guest on IMTV tonight, from his somewhere in West Texas. Gonna play a Phil Lee song as well after we hear another track from Staehely. Staehely, Somewhere in West Texas, our featured album. This week on Monday Night Medicine Show, Tank Gas Medicine Show on MKB. MKB Independent Radio. Join us then Monday night at 8 p.m. There'll be some Phil Lee as well, I'm sure. This is from his When I Close My Eyes I See Blood album. Brand new.
He's got a heart of gold. He's got
that's just about it from me for this evening. Thanks again to Al Staehely for joining us live from Houston. This is IMTV. Let me just pause this a minute. On your screen now you can see a donation button, and we are passing all donations over to, and you can see in your right hand corner on the screen the American Moose Mobile, which is in the custody of a medicine show custodian, that is Ruth Purvis Smith. It's in Calgary at the moment. I'm hoping to join it and her in August, after Belladrum Festival this year. We're going to do a bit of Stravagan, and we hope that her album will be available by that time, so we'll be out to promote her album in Canada as well as here in Europe. The story behind the album, and I'll bring you some of that on the radio show this week, is that it's ready. It just needs a little push to get all the artwork and everything ready to, and promotion and everything ready to get out to the world. So she has started up a crowdfunding campaign, and we're going to be helping that as much as we can over the next couple of weeks for the next month. Any donations made to, and we do thank everybody that donates to the medicine show. It's what keeps us on the road, really, particularly the Patreon channel, which has got exclusive content these days as well. So you can join that for as little as $2 a month and free up all that exclusive content as well. And that basically has kept I've still got a wheel bearing to do, has got kept the moose on the road, and is what will help me when I get to Canada to get that beautiful Vandura, 1982 Vandura, back on the road. And we're going to be stravaiging across Canada at that point with your support. But for now, any support that's given to the medicine show will go directly to Ruth Purvis Smith to get her album released for her as well. So please do, if you have couple of quid in your PayPal account, you can pop that into my account, or you can go to Ruth Purvis Smith on Facebook or on the internet and find the direct link to her crowdfunding channel. She's funded this whole album. Now get this, by, I wonder if I've got, yeah, I probably can pull up something by Ruth, by collecting deposits on soft drinks bottles. We don't do that in this country. They just go for recycling or just get thrown away. In Canada, none of them get thrown away, because there is a deposit that can be reclaimed, and Ruth put out a plea to all her friends to collect bottles for her, and that is what has funded the album and paid for the finest musicians in Canada, and in Calgary particularly, come in and help her on this album. So I'll be playing more of that on the radio show on Monday, definitely. Certainly. On IMTV, we move on to a house concert. Our favourite house concert, a home house concert in Strathpeffer at the Mackenzie House concert this week. Ewan McIntyre from Southern Tenant Folk Union, no less, who has played the house concert as the Southern Tenant Folk Union, has his own albums out now, and it's kind of Celtic Americana to the degree that he actually sings in that genre in Gaelic as well from time to time. He's got a band with him on Friday. We will be there to catch up, find some more out about what he's up to, and also broadcast a couple of songs from that show. But if you are, and I am, in the Highlands of Scotland, within striking distance of Strathpeffer, I can guarantee a good night. It's always a good night, but I'll play a track, and if this is to your liking, ping me a line, and we'll give you the coordinates and book you a couple of seats. I know that there's some available, but it is going to be busy, so you'd be best just to let me know you're coming, and I can make sure that there's room for you as well. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. Ewan McIntyre, our next show, and then we have Teresa Storch, who was our featured album on the radio show last week, beaming in from Longmont in Colorado. She's streaming in on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening with us at 6 p.m. All that information is at youtube.com/Rob Ellen or medicinemusic.me. You can subscribe to all that at YouTube, and please do. Thanks again for your support, guys. Excuse me.
Don't be afraid to be mistaken, knowing when to call it a day. Now I'm feeling the lion and no escape. The beat of our hearts have combined, trying to breathe slowly and deeply. Love without fire is fine. Western monogamy, holding open both palms and reflecting true virtues. She takes you and loves you, knowing nothing is constant. And if that is true, then there's always exceptions. But one thing I know is though this heart is open, shut down for what was and scattered best. The sweat and emotions, the love and the pain cannot be rewritten again.
Ewan McIntyre my guest on Friday on IMTV. We will be guests of the Mackenzie House concert and broadcasting from Strathpeffer on Friday. Thanks again for listening, guys. That was fun. I really enjoyed talking to Al Staehely. Again, thanks to Al. And check out his album, Somewhere in West Texas. It's well worth the visit. Thank you, guys. We're out of here. Cheerio for